The moment the basement door slammed shut, I knew my own son had crossed a line that could never be erased. The lock clicked from the outside, sharp and final, echoing through the concrete walls of the house my husband and I had built 39 years ago. My hands trembled as I pounded on the door, calling Daniel's name, demanding this to be some kind of misunderstanding. But there was only silence. Then footsteps. Then nothing. My husband, Arif, didn't shout. He didn't even stand up from the old wooden chair near the furnace. In the dim yellow light, his face looked strangely calm. Too calm. "They can't do this," I whispered, panic tightening my chest. "This is our home." He slowly turned to me and pressed a finger to his lips. "Stay calm," he murmured. "They have no idea what's hidden behind this wall." At first, I thought fear had made him delirious. Our son and his wife had been acting distant for months. Whispers about property transfers, polite smiles hiding cold calculation. I remembered the day Daniel insisted we sign temporary financial papers. Arif refused. Since then, tension had grown like mold in a damp corner. The basement smelled of dust and old memories. Boxes of photographs, tools, winter blankets. The same walls Daniel used to draw on as a child. How did we get here? "They'll come back," I said, more to myself than to him. Arif shook his head slightly. "No. They think this ends tonight." His eyes shifted toward the far brick wall behind the shelves. And for the first time in our marriage, I realized there were parts of my husband I had never truly known. I followed his gaze to the back wall, confused. We had renovated this basement together decades ago. I remembered choosing the paint, arranging the storage racks, sealing the cracks before winter. There was nothing unusual about that wall, just old bricks darkened with age. "What are you talking about?" I asked, my voice unsteady. Instead of answering, Arif stood and moved a heavy metal shelf aside with surprising strength for a man his age. The scraping sound against concrete made my heart race. He knelt and ran his fingers along the mortar lines as if counting silently. "Arif, this is not the time for riddles," I snapped. "Our son just locked us down here." He looked up at me, and in his eyes I saw something I had never seen before, not fear, not anger, but certainty. "I prepared for this day long ago," he said quietly. "Prepared? For our own child to betray us?" The thought made my stomach twist. I remembered small moments over the years. Arif refusing to discuss certain financial matters, handling documents alone, spending late nights in the basement claiming he was fixing pipes. I had trusted him completely. Perhaps too completely. "Behind this wall," he continued, tapping a specific brick near the bottom corner, "is proof. Protection." A truth Daniel never knew. Before I could ask more, we heard faint footsteps upstairs. Then muffled voices, Daniel and his wife arguing. Words like papers, lawyer, and deadline floated down through the vents. They weren't just angry. They were desperate. Arif leaned closer to the brick and whispered, "We don't have much time." My pulse thundered in my ears. Whatever he had hidden here wasn't just old memories. It was something powerful enough to make him calm while we were imprisoned in our own home. The argument upstairs faded, followed by the sound of the front door closing. Silence settled over the house like heavy dust. "They've left," Arif said. "How can you be sure?" I asked. "Because Daniel always slams the door when he's frustrated. Just like when he was 16. Even now, my husband's voice carried a strange tenderness. I felt tears sting my eyes, but there was no time for grief. Arif slid a thin screwdriver from his pocket, something he had apparently kept on him deliberately. With careful precision, he wedged it into the mortar line around the brick he had tapped earlier. The cement cracked softly. My breath caught as he loosened it, inch by inch. Finally, the brick shifted. He pulled it free, revealing a dark hollow space inside the wall. My mind raced. Money? Jewelry? Something illegal? Instead, he reached inside and pulled out a sealed metal box, dusty but intact. He held it with both hands, almost reverently. "What is that?" I whispered. "Insurance," he replied. He opened the box. Inside were documents, official seals, signatures, photographs, and a small flash drive. On top lay a folded paper with Daniel's name written in Arif's handwriting from decades ago. "I discovered something about Daniel 39 years ago," Arif said quietly. "Something that would destroy him, or save him." My knees felt weak. "What are you saying?" He looked at me, pain finally breaking through his calm expression. "The truth about the day he was born." The words barely left his mouth before the air in the basement felt thinner. "The truth about the day he was born," he repeated, and my mind refused to understand. I had carried Daniel for 9 months. I had felt every kick, every contraction. What truth could exist beyond that? Arif opened the top document and handed it to me. It was a hospital report dated the night Daniel was delivered. My name was there. So was Arif's. But stamped across the top in red were the words: "Infant identification discrepancy." I stared at it, my vision blurring. Arif's voice softened. "There was a fire in the maternity wing that night. 2 newborn boys were moved in chaos. When I went to see you, a nurse stopped me. She said there had been confusion with the ID bands." My heart pounded so loudly I could barely hear him. "They corrected it quickly," he continued. "But before they did, I overheard 2 staff members arguing. One said one of the babies belonged to a wealthy family whose child had been stillborn. They were desperate. Powerful." I shook my head. "No. Daniel is ours." "I never doubted you," he said firmly. "But I doubted the hospital." He had quietly ordered a DNA test months later without telling me. The results were in the file. My hands trembled as I read them. Daniel was biologically mine. But Arif was not his biological father. The room spun. "I chose silence," Arif whispered. "Because I loved him from the first moment I held him. And I loved you more than my pride." Upstairs, a car engine roared back into the driveway. They were back sooner than we expected. And now I understood, if Daniel discovered this truth the wrong way, it wouldn't just ruin him. It would shatter everything. The basement door handle rattled violently. Daniel's voice echoed down the stairs. "Have you changed your minds?" My chest tightened, but something inside me had shifted. The fear was still there, but now it was layered with clarity. Arif handed me the flash drive. "It contains the original hospital security footage I obtained years later," he said. "And records of the family involved. They tried to suppress everything." "Why keep this all these years?" I asked. "In case they ever came back," he replied. "Or in case Daniel needed the truth." The lock clicked. The door opened. Daniel stood there, his wife slightly behind him, her expression tense. He looked frustrated, not cruel, but determined. "Sign the transfer papers," he demanded. "We just need control of the house to manage debts." Debts. So that was the desperation we had heard. I stepped forward before Arif could speak. "Daniel," I said steadily, "did you lock us down here because you needed help, or because you thought we were in your way?" He hesitated. His wife answered instead. "You don't understand the financial pressure." Arif climbed the stairs slowly and placed the metal box on the kitchen table. "There's something you need to see before we sign anything." Daniel frowned but opened the folder. As he read, the color drained from his face. "What is this?" "The truth," Arif said calmly. "And proof that no matter what, you are my son because I chose you." Silence filled the room. The anger in Daniel's eyes cracked, replaced by confusion and fear. Daniel's hand shook as he looked from the documents to us. "This isn't real," he whispered. "It is," I said softly. "But it doesn't change who you are to us." Arif explained everything: the fire, the confusion, the DNA results, the wealthy family who quietly disappeared overseas after the incident. He had kept records not to punish Daniel, but to protect him from anyone who might one day try to manipulate that truth. "You were never a mistake," Arif said firmly. "You were my decision." Every day. Daniel sank into a chair, overwhelmed. His wife's posture softened as she realized the depth of what we had carried alone. "I thought you didn't trust me," Daniel admitted. "You refused to transfer assets. I thought you were preparing to cut me out." Arif sighed. "I was protecting this house from legal claims tied to that hospital case. If the past resurfaced, creditors or that family could attempt something. The property is shielded under specific conditions." The debts, we learned, came from failed investments Daniel had hidden out of pride. Locking us in had been a desperate, foolish attempt to force quick control. Tears finally fell down my cheeks, not from betrayal this time, but from release. Daniel stood and unlocked the basement door fully, as if symbolically undoing his mistake. "I'm sorry," he said, voice breaking. "We did not sign the house away. Instead, we signed a repayment plan together." Transparency replaced secrecy. That night, for the first time in months, we sat at the same table as a family, not perfect, not untouched by pain, but honest. The secret behind the wall had not destroyed us. It had forced the truth into the light. And sometimes, truth is the only lock that truly sets a family free.